place, Baltimore. I didn't get to say that very often here over 25 years, so I'm going to say it as often as I can. Headed out to the West Coast, San Diego first up, then Seattle, and then to my favorite place at Dodger Stadium. And of course, other things are happening around the sports world, and they had a little parade out in Cleveland last week, and then on the backside of the parade, the baseball team can't stop winning. I got a long history with this guy without even realizing it. He is the Indians beat writer as well as Hall of Fame voter for many, many years out in the land of Cleveland. He has an exciting first-place team to cover right now. Chris Ossenheimer from the Cleveland, is it Telegram and Chronicle? Is it Illyria? I get it all confused, Chris. I'm just going to follow you at C. Ossenheimer out on Twitter, which you now have my favorite Twitter handle, bro.
Oh, thank you very much. I will say I get that a lot. It's the Chronicle Telegram in Elyria, Ohio, but we're in the Cleveland area, so yeah.
Well, I mean, it's all Cavs out there now, right? I mean, the Indians are very quietly in first place. And, hey, we played out there a couple weeks ago, and everybody was too busy watching the Raptors, take on the Cavaliers at that point to come down and support the Tribe. But I know everybody knows where the stadium is because I saw them all down there. There were about 1.3 million people that know where the stadium is and came within a few blocks of it last Thursday, right?
No, you're right. You're right. It's been a little point of argument around here lately that some people that are Indians fans, and as you say, there haven't been a whole lot coming out to the park. Some are saying, let's move on with this parade. Let's move on with the Cavs, turn the page because the Indians are in first place. I don't know. I'm one of those. I don't see it that way right now. I mean, I feel like that Cleveland's been waiting for a championship, as you know, for 52 years. And I understand the Indians are playing well, but if the Cavs are going to dominate the scene for even if it's another week, I mean, let it go. We've been waiting a long time in Cleveland to celebrate and to try to promote something negative from this. You don't care about the Indians. I think if the Indians are still in this by the All-Star break, I'm not saying they're going to sell out every night. But you're going to see fans at the park if they're legit by the All-Star break.
Well, they are legit. I mean, what do they need to do to be legit but a 5-game league going into July, right? I mean, come on.
No. I totally agree with you, yes. But this is the thing, and I know you've been doing this for a long time, and you know the Cleveland fan, especially the Cleveland Indian fan, they're always waiting for the shoe to drop. It's just the mentality. It's the mentality in Cleveland sports in general. I mean, even during that game, LeBron gets hurt on that, which would have been like the signature dunk of the history in the finals. He gets injured on that, misses that first free throw, and I guarantee you every single Cleveland fan that was watching that is saying, oh, great. Steph Curry's going to tie it with a 3, and we're going to overtime.
I could just see the grainy video of Ernest Biner and John Elway that day I was there at the Drive in '86. Yeah, I mean, I thought this is the way Cleveland loses. They lose on the dagger, They lose by getting to Game 7, getting to the end, having it be close, and then Curry hitting the 3 and getting fouled and making a free throw.
But it
didn't work out that way. I mean, how does it feel to win? I mean, you've covered the baseball team for 20 years. You've been involved in this forever. Even from the journalism standpoint, look, I've talked to everybody out there this week. I talked to the writer, and I talked to Reg Guy the other day, and I've had Munch on. I have so many friends in Cleveland. I want to see how it feels to be. I'm not the long-suffering guy. Maybe with the Orioles I am, but I've had 2 parades here. I've written 2 books on championship teams. If the Orioles win, it'll be not nearly as much fun as the first Raven one, I assure you of that. And if the Indians have a parade in October, it's not going to top what the Cavaliers put together last week. There's no doubt about that.
No, you're right. You're right. And it's pretty much been this way forever. And to tell you the truth, most people here, and this is bad too. I think most people here, and you see it on the polls and everything. Yes, they're not giving this championship away, but I guarantee you most of them would have rather seen the Browns win it. And this has always been a Browns town, and it doesn't matter how bad they've been, as you've seen, they're still going to support this team. And it's just always going to be a Browns town, and that's going to be a factor all the time. And it's just the way it is. I mean, they love their Browns. Cavs and Indians have always been second fiddle, and it's just the way it is around here. Obviously, they still 1.3 million. I mean, it's not like they're not supporting the championship, but people love the Browns here, and you have to play out of your mind if you're the Cavs or the Indians to get any recognition above the Browns.
All right, so on the backside of everybody coming downtown and waving their little wine and gold around, and LeBron, I mean, they're going to have a parade in Parma and in Twinsburg and out in Willoughby, and, you know, I know how it works out there. I've been at this a long time, and I'm telling you, as much as we should hate you and we should hate all things Cleveland, I'm really enjoying this part of it because, you know, we're going to come in there in week 2 and beat the Browns as we usually do, but the Indians, for me, have been sort of the little sleeping giant here all summer long. They're better than advertised. I think they have a manager, as we do here in Baltimore, that's a difference maker, and I think the pitching there has, you know, to some degree come around, and I know earlier in the year we talked so much about Kluber and trouble there. He sort of righted this thing a little bit. They have a top-of-rotation guy, which we haven't figured out in Baltimore for sure.
Now, yes, that's the thing that you thought was going to carry them this season if they were going to be competitive and be in contention. You thought that starting rotation was going to lead them, and for the most part it has. The thing that's been different for the Indians is coming into the season, you're thinking you're without your best hitter in Michael Brantley, and the offense is going to struggle. Your big off-season acquisition was Mike Napoli. You didn't know what you were going to get from him, and that's what's been surprising to me is the consistency of the offense. I mean, you look at a guy like Jose Ramirez. He was off the radar last year. He opened the season as their starting shortstop, and he gets demoted to clear away for Lindor because he was so bad. And now he's second in the league in hitting with runners in scoring position. So yeah, the rotation is going to carry them, and it's been solid. And Kluber's, like you said, he's been up and down, but he seems to have found it. And I never really.
I would take him. If Kluber pitched for the Orioles right now, the Orioles would be a much better team.
Oh, without a doubt. If Danny Salazar pitched for you guys, you'd be a much better team. If Carlos Carrasco, that's the thing, like you mentioned. Those top 3 in a playoff series, I'm taking my chances, and I think if the Indians are still in this, and I think they're going to be, I think they added a bat in at the trading deadline too. They told teams they have money to spend, which is very rare for them. And if they get an impact outfielder, I mean, watch out. I think they win the division without an impact outfielder, but they get one, and I think they're serious. I can't even say these. We're World Series contender.
Hey, I've attended World Series games in Cleveland. You know that, Chris. Chris Ossenheimer joining us here. He is the Indians beat writer and a Hall of Fame voter at the Chronicle-Telegram in Elyria. I like saying the word Elyria, so I just say it. You can follow him out on Twitter at CAwesomeheimer, which I think is pretty awesome, and still a little hungover from the Cavs parade last week. But, you know, for the Indians and you following them around and seeing them every day, I saw Lindor play, and I said, wow, so many teams now have their own Machado, right? Whether it's Bryce Harper or whether it's Trout. Obviously, the Marlins have been surging as well with their own special player in Stanton as well as their pitcher. But, you know, Lindor is that guy in Cleveland. I remember when the Indians had 5 or 6 of those kind of guys back in the 90s, but he is a guy to build around, no doubt about that.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this kid, he's got 10 homers right now, and we're not even at the All-Star break, and that's just an added bonus that he's brought. He hits. He doesn't look like he's prone to go into any of these prolonged slumps at the plate. Top-notch fielder, great energy. He's almost become a leader in the clubhouse, and you know he doesn't even have a full season in the big leagues under his belt yet. So. Yeah, he's the real deal, and he's been a catalyst. He's been one of many catalysts. I mean, they got a guy like Carlos Santana. Look, he's hitting around 230, but you know he's with Napoli, team leading 16 home runs. They got guys who, if they're not hitting for average, like Lindor and Ramirez and guys like that, they're producing like Napoli. 16 homers leads the team in RBIs. But Francisco Lindor is clearly right now the best player in the team, overall best player in the team. And, I mean, the ceiling, as you've seen him play now, I mean, can you imagine 6-7 years from now what this guy's going to look like? I mean, I think he's going to be – obviously there's a lot of good young shortstops in the American League, but I think he's going to be right at the top of that class.
A lot of transition with the Tribe, right? Mark Shapiro going up to Toronto. And, of course, Mark's from Baltimore. I've known him for a long time and changing things there. Tito Francona not getting the kind of credit that maybe he deserves. Look, we all sit around and talk about Buck being a genius here, and you chase Francona around and you watch the way he manages things there and sort of the little engine that could. They got their asses kicked by the Royals, right? And, they could have gone turtle up on that. They're the world champions. They're in their third year of prominence now. And meanwhile, the Royals have gone off the side of a cliff since then, and the Indians haven't lost. Francona's got something Showalter doesn't have, which would be jewelry, right? And I don't know that he's considered to be the village sage and maybe the way he should be.
No, I agree. I think when he first arrived, he had that, and then he makes the playoffs in his first. He's manager of the year, and he makes the playoffs in his first year in Cleveland. I think the last couple of years, because they haven't been successful, that fans have, and again, it's this whole Browns mentality. I'm telling you, the Terry Francona. If the Browns weren't around and Terry Francona, everybody here would think he was the greatest thing in the world. Couple years, and it's the Indians thing again. Couple years, you don't make the playoffs, then okay, maybe you start to see the criticism. And I'm with you. I don't. People in Cleveland should thank their lucky stars that they got this guy. I mean, you look at the managers they've had over the years, and I'm not ripping these guys, but they're no Terry Francona. And
well, we feel the same way here, dude. We did 14 years in last place, so I hear you, bro.
Right?
And we took your cast-offs in Hargrove, who looked like a genius until he got, until he didn't have Oral Hershiser, Dennis Martinez, and Bell and Ramirez, and all those guys in their prime. It's easy to look smart when you have those players.
No, and that's true. And Tito's had a good rotation. He's had good pitching. But you're right. He doesn't have all-stars at every position like Hargrove did. And he is still, maybe he hasn't made the playoffs the last couple of years, but they haven't been terrible. They haven't been in last place. And he's done it. I think he's got a perfect combination. People, obviously, you have to respect Terry Francona when he walks in that clubhouse. But some guys like that can rub you the wrong way because they carry that air, like you should respect me. He doesn't. He's a regular guy, at least with the players. And I think they love him for it. I mean, it's a World Series manager, and he acts like he's one of the guys. He goes to those Cavs games. He hangs.
Well, this has been good for them to be around the winning, right? I mean, just in general, for the Indians to look up and see 1.3 million people in downtown, that kind of hangs a little carrot out there for them. And I agree with you that the fans are going to come. I mean, I think in August and September, especially when the Browns stink, that city's going to latch on. And the Cavs don't dribble again till Halloween, right? So, this really is a great, great time for the Indians to be there, and they certainly have a leader that can point to all of that. And they have the right players. And I don't know that any of these other teams are going to come and get them, which is the other part of this, the way that Detroit and Chicago have looked in the last 2 weeks.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, the Royals would always be that team I would worry about, but their pitching staff right now is in shambles, and I agree. I don't think anybody catches the Indians. At the beginning of the season, I said I predicted they'd win the wild card. I had the Royals winning the division, which I think pretty much everybody did, but I don't. The way they're 5-game lead, I know it's certainly not insurmountable. But you look at this team, and I don't see them just losing 10 straight, going in this crazy. I just don't see with that starting pitching. You're always going to have a chance every night, so that's when you're going to avoid those losing streaks. And I do. I think like you said, I think that this will start to become a bigger story as we get into August and things like that, but I think they're here to stay, and I think that Cleveland will have another playoffs team by the end of the season.
Well, I know you got exciting times out there, and Paul Hoynes and Sheldon Oker and all those guys waited around forever and ever and ever for the Indians to be a first place team again. So enjoy the rest of the summer, man. You got a lot ahead of you. We got it going on. Are you buying into the Orioles, or are you not buying in, Chris?
Oh, you have to. I mean, at the beginning of the season, it certainly didn't look like that. But, I mean, that lineup, that's scary anytime. I mean, and you guys are starting to get some pitching. You got rid of Ubaldo finally.
What did you make of that signing?
Mistake.
When the Orioles signed him for $48 million, I said 4 years, $48 million. He won't come close to winning 48 games, and that was a pretty low bar of 12 wins a year, right? I mean, and I know we can go Moneyball and get Sabry on wins and their real value and all that, but just on a money basis to say, will he be a difference maker? If you're going to sign a guy for $50 million and he can't win 12 games a year, or you don't believe that he can average that over the life of the contract, it's really been one of those disastrous kind of signings, and they keep giving him the ball, and they're in first place, and they're counting on him. It's certainly not it's a precarious situation, I think, for Buck and for the whole organization.
Yeah, the Indians went through that thing with Ubaldo as well when they signed him originally, and he was terrible, and Mickey Callaway turned him around. I didn't think he'd ever leave, to tell you the truth. I mean, Mickey Callaway, pitching coach in Cleveland, resurrected his career. He really did. And Ubaldo skated when they gave him the qualifying offer, but weren't willing to go any higher, any long-term deal. And he skated. And I thought when he left, I know it's okay. It's a pitching coach, big deal, but he's made a difference in a lot of guys. And he's turned Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco. I mean, it's a big deal. It's certainly there, and I thought Ubaldo would struggle leaving Mickey, and that certainly has been the case.
Hey, man, great following you out on Twitter. We will give you a follow for sure. It is C. Awesomenheimer. He is Chris Awesomenheimer from the CT, as they say, the Chronicle Telegram in Elyria out in Cleveland, and still with the cigar. How long will the cigar remain for all of Cleveland? You get I always say you get 5 years. That was my rule with the Ravens. You have a parade. You just need to sit down and be quiet for 5 years. That's me. I know that's not going to be Cleveland.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's not going to happen. I give you maybe 2 years. 2 years in Cleveland. That's the rule, because they'll forget about the Cavs, and then they'll consider themselves losers again if no one else has done something. So, yeah. Before I go though, I got to tell a quick story about first time. I didn't actually meet you, but we were down in the Inner Harbor for Orioles game. A bunch of my buddies went down for a road trip.
This is before you were a writer, or were you a writer at the time?
I was a writer, but I wasn't covering the Indians yet.
Okay.
I was just cutting my teeth as a little cubby reporter covering high school stuff.
Fair enough.
So I was not on assignment, so I was allowed to be down there partying. Anyway, so the night Mussina took a perfect game, or a no-hitter, and I think he had 2 outs left. Sandy Alomar broke it up. Before the game, one of my buddies came down and sat with you, did a segment with you, and you trashed him, which it was legit. You probably should have, because not our baseball team, but everything else at that point.
It was tough. I mean, was 98 maybe, or does that sound right? 98, 99, somewhere in that range? I remember that night vividly, and this is why. And I've written a whole chapter in a book about me missing no-hitters. I've walked out of a no-hitter in San Diego. I had a plane to catch. And I walked out and landed and found out that I walked out of a no-hitter in the 4th inning. I have missed no-hitters where I had an invitation to go to the game, like Hideo Nomo. My son wanted me to go. I didn't go. So that night with Mussina is even more interesting because I did my show at Hooters. I was supposed to go to the game. I had a long-lost date with an ex-girlfriend that was kind of a reunion thing. It's before my wife. It's 20 years ago. And instead of going to the game, when I wrapped up my equipment, she and I talked about going for a quiet dinner. And we went for a quiet dinner that night after I trashed your friend. And I looked up at dinner, and I had to pee in about the 6th inning. And I walked into the bar and looked up and realized Mussina had a no-hitter going. And I ended the date.
At the bar.
No, she's a baseball fan. I threw her in the car, and we drove through the city from Little Italy, and Mussina gave up the hit. I'm telling you, I was on Lombard where the old News American was, right where the Renaissance is, and I heard him give up the hit after I had gotten in the car to get over there to see the last out. So it was one more time. It's not meant to. Have you seen a no-hitter yet, Chris?
I was just going to say there's two things to that story. I think we're the only people in the park. We're about 5-6 guys. Even Indians fans wanted to see Mussina do that because, to be there, like we're saying. And I think we're the only 5 people that stood up in the park when that happened. Because the Orioles, the Indians weren't winning that game. But I remember standing up and cheering, and fans just looking at us like, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you is you're from Cleveland, for crying out loud. That's what's wrong with you, right?
Right, exactly. As far as the no-hitters, I've seen one in my life, and I don't even count it as a no-hitter. Irvin Santana no-hit the Indians like 2 or 3, maybe 5 years ago. And he walked like 5, 6 guys, hit a guy, and it was a no-hitter. I mean, it was a legit no-hitter. I saw it, but, I mean, it's one of those ones where you're like, okay, yeah. I mean, 6 walks.
On my tour last year, I had 2 no-hitters go to the 7th on a random 30-game schedule. They both got broken up. But it's one of those things that just feels like it's not meant to be for me. You know what I mean? I saw Tillman go to the 7th on Easter a couple years ago, and, you know, they get broken up. The David Cohn perfect game, I was supposed to go to that game at Yankee Stadium that day and go see Springsteen afterward. My buddy bailed on the whole day, so we didn't go, so I didn't see it. I was in the locker room for Juan Nieves' no. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, we've traveled the world seeing Springsteen, so it's worked out okay. But the Juan Nieves no-hitter, I was in the locker room for the champagne, and I interviewed him at the locker, but it doesn't count because I got in the car in the 7th inning and went out there for the end of it. That's not a real one.
No, yeah, I gotcha.
It's the holy grail, but you've achieved it. One day, I'll walk into a random game and it'll just happen. You know, I mean, or maybe it won't happen. I don't know. It's a better story this way.
I mean, it seems like, I mean, we've both been doing this a long time. I mean, you would think, you see, I'm not saying that you see them all the time, but they're not as rare, you know, as they used to be. And
well, the question is, you got to go in April, because in April, that's kind of, they always tend to happen early in the year, right? It's got to be some 37-degree crappy night in Cleveland or Detroit or something, right?
Yeah, I would think so, but I mean, again, you know, I've been doing this since '97, and like I said, one, and I don't even count it really. So I don't know. Maybe it's not meant to be for both of us.
Well, I had my press pass taken away 10 years ago, so I don't go to as many games now. So I have a far – well, I mean, once the old man dies and somebody normal buys the team and, like, I can actually go back and be a media member again because I'm a fake one now, Chris. Yeah, but they ban media here. That's what they do. So be careful what you say about Mr. Angelos.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a good thing I don't work in Baltimore.
Yeah, you'll find yourself sitting out in left field paying $23 for tickets.
That would not be cool.
Hey, man, enjoy the run, right? I mean, you got a great team there. We'll be following you at C. Awesomenheimer out on Twitter and watching your work out at the Chronicle Telegram as well. Great having you on, bud.
Hey, great talking to you, Nestor.
Have another cigar out there in Cleveland, home of the champions in the Cavaliers. Chris Awesomenheimer covers the Tribe for the Chronicle Telegram of Elyria, which is a Cleveland suburb. I just like saying Elyria. He is C. Awesomenheimer out on Twitter, and he has a big cigar going on Twitter as well. You can find me out in the Bahia Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere you are. You can also email me anytime, anywhere, nasty at WNST.net. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere you are, we are. WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.